This is Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage, your place for all things Wisconsin sports. Now, your host, Trage.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It's been a hot minute. It has been a hot minute since we've been live. I know, we're on the radio now, 92.3 WOSQ. Make sure you're checking that out on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We're on there, but we just haven't had the time to get live. I was sick the past couple days. I was thinking about going live, and I was like, oh, crap. I got sick, sore throat, everything like that. Still feeling under the weather today, but hey, we're here. I want to talk. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening, and I was like, I can't miss for this long. I got to get back and talk sports. Aaron wanted to be here. He's under the weather too. I don't know if you could transmit, sickness through a computer, but Aaron's sick. I'm sick. It's like maybe we rubbed off on each other. Kyle, I'm sorry if I rub off on you tonight here. Sorry about that one. Give you the computer virus there, but I got Kyle with me tonight. Kyle, how we doing? It's Friday night. Weekend's here. How we doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Been a few weeks since I've been on. I think a lot has happened since then.
Good.
But I'm definitely glad to be on here and talk about. You feel like Super Bowl over. It's kind of a slow period. It's really not. There's still a lot going on. So let's go ahead and get into it.
It's my favorite time of year. It is. Baseball's back. I mean, we're talking about spring training. I mean, it already started, but the Brewers don't start until tomorrow. So, I really don't care up until tomorrow. But baseball is back. March is almost here. The madness is almost started. We got college basketball up the wazoo. The Badgers are Kyle, I don't know. We talked about the Badgers. It's been a while since you and me have talked about the Badgers, but this Wisconsin Badger team is wow. Just wow. I mean, the offensively, they are lighting up the world right now. It is absolutely insane. So love to see that there out of the Badgers. But we want to start with an interesting one today. The Yankees. It's kind of out of our realm, but Devin Williams, right? Devin Williams heads out to the Yankees, and I don't know if he looked like crap without facial hair, and that's why they did this or what. But the facial hair policy is going to go away. They went through years where you had to have, no beard, nothing. You couldn't have facial hair at all. I don't know if it was the whole mustache thing or what. They didn't feel like a beard looked good. I thought it did. Matt Carpenter, when he went out there and he didn't have the beard, I was like, who is this guy, right? And Alex Verdugo looked like he was 12 when he shaved it off there. Devin Williams does look rough. I don't like Devin Williams without a beard there. He said that he hasn't been clean shaven for 6 years. That's what Devin Williams said. It's like James Harden, right? If James Harden was on the Yankees, I remember when he had that shaved beard, when they showed him with the shaved beard. That was bad. That was bad. There are some things that you're not meant to see in life. James Harden without a beard was one of them. Devin Williams without a beard is the second one. I don't know. Maybe he won't blow playoff games if he's got a clean-shaven face. Just maybe. Maybe. Huh? Yeah. I don't know. For Yankees' sake, I hope he does. But, I mean, Kyle, this is right in your division. This is right in your backyard there. Boston Red Sox fan there. What do you think about the Yankees? This feels like this is way overdue. Why did it take 40-some years for the Yankees to go? Everybody else is good with it. Yeah. Why aren't we? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, look, the first thing was waking up and seeing that they had an official statement for this. I thought was hilarious because normally you see an official statement, it's like, somebody big got fired, official statement, they acquired somebody big, official statement. But the fact that you're turning back on a policy, which was kind of done to begin with, because Johnny Damon was also a guy, had a beard, went to the Yankees. And it's just you weren't winning anything the past 25 years with a little shorter than that, but it's been a while since you won anything. I guess maybe they're just trying to switch it up to fix that and hope that now guys will be themselves with their facial hair and maybe they'll play looser in the playoffs and hopefully they win that World Series title that they've been chasing for a while. I saw it on the bottom ticker and I was just like, the biggest non-story that I needed today was to know that the Yankees aren't doing the beard thing anymore.
This was Yankee news. This is what you needed. This is what you needed right here on the Yankees. I just thought, they're still going to have the policy. It's got to be clean, though. It's got to be clean. You can't be frizzly. You can't, walk out there looking rough yet. It's still got to be kind of cleaned up.
Can't do the hockey beard.
Right. So I mean, I guess good for the Yankees. Good for Yankees, good for Yankee players. Now, I wonder Aaron Judge. I wonder if he can grow a beard. I'd be interested in Aaron Judge with a beard. Like, he looks like a lumberjack right now. Give him a beard, right? Maybe that's the key, right? For playoff success. Maybe don't drop a ball in the outfield if you got a beard. I don't know.
I mean, that play just killed Yankee fans all over the place. I remember
that whole inning. That was
of them like in the stadium when it happened. They're just like, "Oh, that's the end of the inning" or something. It's like, wait, what? And then it just went downhill from there. I watched it on TV, loved every second of it, but
Oh, it's still living in their heads rent free at this point.
Yeah.
Like, that whole inning was just a disaster after disaster after disaster. And then, we see what happens there. The Dodgers win the World Series, which is not good for anybody anyways, right? Because the Dodgers, we don't want the Dodgers to win a World Series. Well, I'm sick of baseball for the simple fact of the payroll and everything like that. Because there was a quote the other day, and a lot of people out there, and you can take this quote any way you wanted to take it, but it was misinterpreted. It wasn't put out there right. So what I saw, and this is what I saw originally, was the quote from Mark Ananasio. And Mark Ananasio essentially said that the Brewer, what was his job, right? And he said his job was it to win a World Series, or was it to put fans into the seats? Was it to give families a good environment to go to, essentially, is what he said. And it was blown out of context. So I have it right here. My goal from an ownership standpoint is always to compete. I don't like to talk about us being a small market. We've certainly not played like a small market. Since 2005, we have the fourth most wins in the National League. That was part of his job there, part of his quote. But the quote that everybody's mad about here, I got it pulled up now. Is my job to win a World Series, or is my job to provide a summer of entertainment and passion and a way for families to come together? So that's the quote that was taken by USA Today and ran with, right? I think it was by some guy named something Nightingale was his name. Something Nightingale. Bob Nightingale was the guy's name there. And he took it, ran with it. Good. Okay, that's what he took and ran. And, oh my goodness, Brewer fans, radio hosts, everything just exploded. The world was blowing up. It was done. Like, everybody's freaking out about what Mark Ananasio had to say. And he was not entirely misquoted, right? Because he said that. He did state that in his presser, or in this interview that he had. But that was only 2 lines. There's the rest of it, right? And he went on and he talked about the Dodgers and what the Dodgers are able to do and what he's not able to do, and being a small market team. And, he went on to talk about we don't have financial ability to bring in superstars. We try to hold on to whatever we can there, bringing in, having guys like Jackson Chourio and different things, right? So this thing went way longer, right? So everybody's freaking out. And then Mike Ananasio came out and he said he was entirely misquoted. I was sitting in the room, he said. The goal is always to win a World Series, but it's also important as a steward of the franchise to provide a summer of passion and excitement for the fans so you don't lose generations of fans like some teams do when you have a long rebuild. We always want to be competitive to avoid that. Very frustrating to see what the writer posted, which completely was not in the spirit of the comments that were made. So that's essentially what Mike had to say there. I believe, and this is what I'm believing on, Mark Ananasio wants to win a World Series. Anybody out there who believes that Mark Ananasio doesn't want to win a World Series is absolutely out of their mind. I don't understand how you could sit there and go, wow, this Brewers owner does not want to win a World Series. If you were like the A's owner doesn't, sure, I believe you. Like, if you asked me that, I'd say the A's do not want to win a World Series. Like, watching them, seeing the crap that's going on out there, I would believe that. Mark Ananasio does what he can, right? But this is the thing that I don't understand. So everybody's freaking out. The Brewers haven't made an offseason move, right? Brewers haven't made a move. They haven't made a move, right? Where's the Brewers' glaring weakness? Third base, right? Okay. Alex Bregman signs with your Red Sox, right? Kyle got Alex Bregman out there. 3 years, $120 million. $60 million deferred to the back end of that deal. The Brewers weren't going to compete with that. They weren't throwing that down. You strap yourself up. You don't have money to spend. So this is what I realistically want to ask Brewer fans. If you're in the comments tonight, I'd love to hear what you got to say. what were you going to go get that would have excited you, right? Yohan Moncada. I was a big guy for Yohan Moncada. I said, let's go get him. Let's see what he does. Would he have been the difference maker that would have made you go, wow, like, whoa, Mark Ananasio is doing something? No. Paul DeYoung. Was he going to be the difference maker? No. Right? You were going to bring in guys. They were going to be guys, right? But they weren't going to be superstars. You can't afford the superstars. Juan Soto, you might have been in the trade, right? I don't believe for 1 second Mark Ananasio did not call, or not, it's not even Mark Ananasio, right? It's Matt Arnold. Matt Arnold did not call and say, hey, Alex Bregman, what do you want? You want to come to Milwaukee? I don't believe for 1 second that the Brewers aren't barking up trees. They want these guys, right? They want to compete. Look what they've done over the years with having a small payroll. They've won the NL Central. They've been to the NLCS. They've been bounced in the playoffs now a couple of years straight, right? But we can look back at them and say, man, that all-star closer that everybody's freaking out about that we just lost to the Yankees and traded away, he blew it against the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Hader, as much as I hated that deal at the time and I thought it screwed that season over, Josh Hader was on the tail end of it when the Brewers traded him. David Stern saw that. I believe that. He saw it. He saw what was happening with Josh Hader, and he made that deal. And honestly, looking back on it now, I don't know how we freak out about that deal anymore. Because we got Estuary Ruiz. And guess what? We flipped him for William Contreras. We screwed the Braves because they have Sean Murphy now. We traded one guy and ended up with one of the best catchers, if not the best catcher, in all of baseball. So, yes, I will say it. Mark Ananasio's cheap. I know that. He doesn't flip a lot of money into this organization.
Mm-hmm.
But Brewers are not very high up on the TV rights deals, right? The Dodgers, they get a lot of deals. Japanese, everything. They get a lot of deals for TV rights. The Brewers don't. We just got FanDuel back. And FanDuel doesn't give you that much money, right? So they don't get much revenue there. Now, my question is, if Mark Ananasio is making this money, right? Maybe he's making like $20 million a year. Do you want him to stick $20 million into players, or do you want him to stick it into developmental leagues, right? Where they go down into these foreign countries and they develop guys. Do you want to stick them into academies? Do you want him to stick them into experience? Or would you rather have him stick it into the team? What do you want, right? Because you have to, as an owner, you have to weigh all these little things. It doesn't just happen. You have to, there's more financial things that happen just outside of a payroll. Everybody's like, let's just load up the payroll, right? Let's keep slapping it down. What are you going to do with 20 mil, right? You might be able to add a couple pitchers here and there, but are you going to really add difference makers who are going to blow the world open? I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think you're going to add the difference makers that you think you're going to add. And when you sit here and you just grumble about it, it's like the Brewers are one of the most consistent franchises right now in the National League. And maybe it comes to bite one year, right? Maybe this is the year that the pieces just don't align, right? Because they've exceeded expectations the past couple of years. Maybe they don't this year. But from what he's been able to do, build the young talent. See what the young talent can do. What is the point of Tyler Black and all these third base prospects if we keep just bringing in third basemen and just stop Gates? Just bring him in. 1 year deal. What's the point of them? Let's see what Tyler Black can do. If he can't do it, well, let's trade him away. Let's find a piece, right? This isn't saying that the Brewers still can't go out and make a move. They can't make a trade. They can't do something. They can't swing anything. This isn't saying that they can't do that at this point here, but I'm at the point where it's like, this is what the Brewers are going to do. And we have to accept it, right? So, Aaron, I said, Aaron, see, I knew I was going to do it. Kyle, what are your thoughts? I mean, you hear that Mark Ananasio quote, and I mean, you hear that basically misquoted, taken out of context. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Brewers right now? And I mean, in your opinion, Major League Baseball, because I honestly think it's a Dodger problem. I think it's a Met problem. I think it's a baseball problem that they don't have a salary cap or a salary floor in place there. What are your thoughts right now on this landscape? What the Brewers have going on, Mark Ananasio, and what baseball is at right now in a whole?
I mean, yeah, I feel like for any front office person, like there's more. I mean, I guess fans don't want to hear, but there's more that goes into it than just spending money and putting together a team that's supposed to win it all. Because you actually have to worry about the fan experience and everything like that. But in terms of like, Brewers and teams like them, like the Brewers aren't so small market that they're like the White Sox or something. I mean, actually, the White Sox are a big market in Chicago, but I mean like the Rays. Let's take the Rays. Rays are like a legit small market team.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of fans, which is why their stadium isn't like state of the art. And they have to be creative with the way that they build their team. And look, through that, they've managed to stay relevant most years when a lot of people would just write them off. So if Milwaukee can sit here and, they spend money, but they don't spend on a Dodger level, which nobody does. They may not spend on a Yankee level, which very few do, or on a Red Sox level. But if you can spend the money correctly and wisely and develop, guys in AA and single A correctly, you don't have to have the biggest payroll to win in baseball. It's just that it may put you in a tougher position with a, slimmer margin of error. Because like if you're the Dodgers and let's say you like lost Mookie Betts or something for a couple of weeks, the Dodgers have the ability to swap him out for another guy who would probably start a lot of other teams. So I do agree with you that the Dodgers are becoming a problem. And I think it's whether or not baseball actually looks at it that way. Because there is something to say for a league where everybody just hates that one team. And they try to do everything they can to beat that one team on the hopes that if you beat them, maybe you slowly break them up. Like it used to be, you built your team to beat the Yankees in October. Now it's like you build your team to beat, whoever, like the Braves or one of these teams that consistently are there, consistently have a good team. And I think Milwaukee is a team, like you said, you look at the last few years, despite maybe not spending as much as fans may want, they've been in the conversation.
Yep.
And, for baseball, maybe more so than other sports, it's like, just get in and you have a chance. We've seen plenty of wildcard teams now get to the World Series. So it's all about spending your money correctly and wisely, not just throwing money at a bunch of guys and then going, oh, we spent the most, we're going to win. Because the Yankees had like a top 3 payroll for a lot of years. Somehow they don't win.
Yeah.
Because they're not spending it necessarily in the right places on the right types of guys for October baseball. Like up until October, baseball is much different. You get to October, your pitching staff more magnified. Situational play plays a bigger role, which is kind of two of the areas where the Yankees have kind of fallen short. So, yeah, if I was a Brewers fan, I'd be like, kind of like what we're doing right now. You got young guys who are showing out, and you just have to hope that one year you kind of break through. Because I mean, it's not a guarantee that the Dodgers will be there in the end just because they spent way more than everybody. They still have to play together 162 games and actually play well enough. So, the quote, like we know this day and age, if you can pull the juicy part of a quote out and make that the focal point, that drives traffic to your site, which is what a lot of people want to look at. So then once you get on the site, it's up to you to either like read the full article and get the full context of it, or just read the headline, make a decision, and go crazy. So I'm not necessarily mad at these reporters who may phrase it a certain way to kind of build some, I guess, interest amongst their viewers or readers, because that's technically what they're supposed to do. But from what you read, I didn't see anything terrible about what he said.
No, and you don't. If you took out of that quote that you think that Mark Ananasio does not want to win a World Series, he doesn't care about winning a World Series, he just cares about the money aspect. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think Mark Ananasio is out there to win a World Series. I just think in the landscape that baseball is currently at right now, it makes it hard to spend money. It does. Mm-hmm. The Brewers payroll I saw is expected to be like $116 million for the year so far, with all the contracts and everything off of. I mean, I believe they have some contracts still on from like last year, some deferred contracts. I think they still got to pay who do they got to pay yet? I think they have Gary Sanchez is still on there, Frankie Montas, Wade Miley, Colin Ray, Devin Williams, Montas and Junis. I mean, they still got the Williams and Cortez trade. I believe they have money on that too. They ended up swapping money. So, I mean, they have money still tied up in a lot of different places too. So we look at the payroll as just what players are getting paid, right? But you still have contracts on top of that. I still think that they owe, if I'm not mistaken, and I think they owe like Lorenzo Cain yet or something, and they owe Ryan Braun yet. So, I mean, there's still, you got to remember that MLB teams, the payroll is not just what the players are right now. It's, outside of the players, who do we owe money for a buyout from last year? Who do we owe money for this for, and everything like that. So, estimated payroll versus total is two different things there. What did John's in the comments? Nice to see you, John. Watch Brewers make a splash next year at first base and sign Vlad Jr. would definitely move the needle. I agree. I think it'd move the needle if they went and traded for him this year. Just said screw it. Just said screw it and went for him. Mm-hmm. But the question is, at this point, what do you do with him? Because you got Rhys Hoskins. It's like if you have a right-handed first baseman, what does a right-handed first baseman do for you? I don't know, So we'll see. I would not be opposed to that move whatsoever, John. John, stick around. We got to talk Oregon later here. Badgers, Oregon coming up tomorrow. We got to talk about it. So make sure you're sticking around. We did have one across the text-in line from the 650 there. Maybe no more punching walls without a beard. For Devin Williams. So good stuff there. Good stuff. I mean, for Yankees fans, they hope, right? Mm-hmm. No more punching walls out there. So great stuff there, Mark Ananasio. I mean, love them, hate them, love the Brewers, hate the Brewers, whatever you want to do. But I don't believe for one second this guy isn't out there to try and win the Brewers a World Series. Right. He's just going to probably try and do it the cheapest way possible. That's what you got to believe at this point. He's going to try and do it the cheapest way possible there. So in other contract news, we did see the Badgers extend Luke Fickle for a year. And I saw it was kind of like a formality. Like it's a standard 1-year extension that they do at the conclusion of the season. So it's odd. Like this is just kind of formality. This is what they do. I don't understand why it's a formality, but from what I've seen, that's what it is. So Luke Fickle gets another year. He's getting extended through 2032 now. I don't know how Badger fans feel about that one. There's a lot of Badger fans who don't like that deal to begin with. He's got a lot of money guaranteed, I believe, and now to add another year onto I don't know. Let's see. Here's some comments. Anytime you can extend Fickle, who is 13-13, 8-10 in conference, and whom no one is trying to hire away, you simply have to do it. Agents versus ADs remain the biggest mismatch in sports. Yeah, okay, so that's a comment for the college football watcher. Ryan Hickey said Luke Fickle is a good coach, but the reasoning from Wisconsin for extending his contract is Looney Tunes. Nobody in Madison would call the first losing season since 2001 satisfactory performance. That's what they said. So I do see, he quoted it here. The move announced after a brief closed session at the end of the board's regular February meeting was all but a formality. Fickle's contract says an annual 1-year extension requires satisfactory performance by Fickle as judged by the athletic director's recommendation and approval by the athletic board. Chris McIntosh might get fired off of this. If he counts that as satisfactory, that'd be like me going to my job next week and just pitching a tent and just sitting in a corner. Like that's basically the same thing as Luke Fickle doing his job right now. So, I mean, Chris McIntosh is getting fired and so is Luke Fickle. You're pretty darn soon. Wow. Okay. Satisfactory. I want to know what's not satisfactory to Wisconsin. If a craptastic season like the Badgers just had, and like Ryan Hickey said, they're the first losing season since 2001. If that was satisfactory, what is not? Because our spectrums are two different things. If that was, I'm counting 500 as like good enough. Like we're still rebuilding. 500 is good enough. That wasn't even 500. You lost some crap teams along the way, Luke. Like, I don't know. That's bad. That's bad. Let's see here. John says he ain't worth the almost $8 million a year. I would agree. I would 1,000% agree with you, John, there. I believe most of that is guaranteed money on his contract, too. And that's where I'm saying right now, I don't know. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen is when they said it was satisfactory. This guy, Cameron Soren on Twitter said Luke Fickle's agent is out here working magic. It's like Kirk Cousins. And that's what I'm saying. Luke Fickle's agent is like Kirk Cousins' agent. That's my tweet. Nobody steal that. After we're done here, I'm tweeting that out because this is exhausting. Here we go. Brad Powers getting a 7-year extension is by far Fickle's biggest win at Wisconsin. So there we go. He got his biggest win so far at Wisconsin. Let's see here. Jordan Love believer still. He's got it in quotes there still.
Okay.
This is absurd. What has Fickle done to deserve an extension outside of wearing a cool vest? That's true. He just got the team vest there. Louis Vacher says, this one comes as a surprise to me at 13-13. I thought Fickle would be coaching for his job this year. Instead, Wisconsin extends him. Yeah, I would agree with that there. So the comments just keep on going. Yeah. Luke Fickle there. And there are not a lot of Badger fans happy with this one here. I thought so too, to be honest with you. They told me 2 years ago, hey, I got to give him a year, right? So I gave him last year. Last year didn't look better. I was like, this year's the year where I got to put his seat on a burner. Like, he is on a burner now. And now we give him this extension. I just don't know. Like, the recruiting classes are good, right? He's been having great recruiting classes, and he's been getting guys in, his guys, but it hasn't transpired to anything. So he fires Phil Longo. Now, we'll see. Maybe Phil Longo was the problem. I don't know. Maybe it was the problem with the offense. They bring in a new offensive coordinator there, Grimes. Maybe that fixes the problem. We can hope so, but if it doesn't, right? If Grimes stinks and Tressel's defense still stinks, then what? Do we just keep firing offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators before we say, maybe there's another problem in the room? Maybe it's the head man. Maybe it's the guy making the calls. I don't know. Like, I'm at that point right now. I don't know. Kyle, what do you think? I mean, you're on the outside looking into this Badger situation, but Luke Fickle definitely has not done anything to impress anybody in the college football world, outside of maybe analysts or something who are like, he's still, doing a good job. Outside of that, I mean, fans are not impressed.
Yeah, and look, it is interesting that being a 500 coach in that conference, knowing the competition that's in there, that you get a 1-year extension to just kind of extend out your deal a year. Like, I feel like there's two things that have to be at work here. It's either in their mind they go, if we replace Luke Fickle, we're not going to get anybody better than Luke, so we might as well keep him. Or they think, because of how recruiting has gone, do I think this puts pressure on Fickle to do better on the sideline and, with decision making on the staff and all that? Because, like, if you're Wisconsin, are you going to be better than, like, an Ohio State? Maybe not. Are you going to be better than Oregon? Who knows? But if you can position yourself to get into the playoff, maybe you could go on a Ohio State-like run. Because Ryan Day, we talked about, look, all last year was about Ryan Day going to get fired at the end of the season, can't win the big one, can't make the playoff. They make the playoff, they get it done, and now Ryan Day has extended his time at Ohio State, you feel like. So maybe that's the hope for a lot of these schools. It's like, we hired this guy who we thought was really good. We still think they're really good, but the team is underachieving. And maybe they're willing to give him a chance to turn it around and show some type of improvement.
I'm just hoping we don't finish in, like, the bottom 10 of the Big Ten. Like, that's kind of where I'm at this point here. Like, middle of the pack at this point in the Big Ten for the Badgers would be a blessing in disguise. Now, he does have a lot of young guys coming in. Carter Smith, young. So you have a lot of young guys. It's a question of nowadays in the college football world, can you retain guys, right? It's not just, who can I recruit? It's after I recruit them, will they stay? Will they allow me to develop them? Or are they going to run off? Are they going to go to an Oregon or an Ohio State or somebody else who's better? Or, well, I shouldn't say better, but in better position because they have more money, have more players, etc. So we'll wait and see. We'll see what kind of happens there with the Badgers. But Luke Fickle gets that extension. I forgot to mention, they did come out with the lineup card for the Brewers opening game against the Reds tomorrow. So Terang is going to lead off second base. Churio is going to be in left field. He's batting second. Contreras at DH. Mitchell is going to bat fourth in center field. Bowers is at first base, batting fifth. Ortiz playing shortstop. Frelick in right field. Haas is catching tomorrow. And then Durbin, the new guy, Caleb Durbin, will be playing third base for the Brewers there. So, I mean, interesting stuff there. Interesting stuff. And then it looks like some of the, subs that they're going to have. Monasterio will be along. Heron, Adams, Luis Lara. I'm excited to see him. He's definitely a great outfield prospect for the Brewers. Excited to see him. Ernesto Martinez Jr. Get used to that name there. He's been in the Brewer system for a while now here, and he's going to be down there. So hopefully, maybe, everybody's freaking out about first base. Maybe Ernesto gets that little nod there after spring training. We'll wait and see on him. Capra is also going to be down there, and then the rest of the guys I can name off. But
yeah.
Really,
that's basically spring training right there.
Who they are.
A few guys, and then you're hoping a couple of guys wearing 60, 70 surprise you, and then get a better number for the regular season.
That's where I found out about Brewer Hicklin last year. I was like, Brewer Hicklin is the definition of a Brewer. Like that I was hoping like this guy gets a spot there. Christian Yelich, though he's not playing tomorrow, is expected to be ready for opening day. So that's good news there. And then, like I talked about with Woodruff the other day, he's pitching. He's throwing to live hitters. The fastball's sitting at 92 right now. He threw his whole repertoire of pitches there, so he's working through it. Hopefully get him back feeling better and great soon. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome to get him back into that rotation there. So lots of good stuff. Nestor Cortez, I believe, he won't be pitching tomorrow. It's like, who the heck is pitching? Rodriguez is starting for the Brewers, and then they're going to have Spain, Wood, Guillarte is going to be there. It's just random guys, right? So after Rodriguez, it's a bunch of random guys, but that's what you want. That's what you want is see some of these young. The Brewers do great working with young pitchers, developing young guys, developing veterans who have been kind of beat up over the years. So we'll wait and see. Maybe some of these guys we see in spring here tomorrow will be on the opening day roster. Who the heck knows? Who the heck knows at this point with the Milwaukee Brewers? Right. I completely agree. So one more, I want to get to this before we get to the Badgers and Oregon. I wanted to talk about the Bobby Portis situation because it stinks for Brewer fans. Or not the Brewer fans. I'm just talking about the Brewers. I'm like, Brewer fans technically, right? Bucks fans, right? Because Giannis Dame both kind of banged up going into the All-Star break. We get him back. Bobby was playing before it. Now Bobby's out. We get Giannis and Dame back. So you still don't have the full cast of characters, right? Because Bobby Portis is one of the best bench players in all of the NBA. So now you don't have one of the best bench players in the NBA. So he's out. He's that guy who comes in. You don't notice what he does until he's not there, right? And you get Kyle Kuzma, and Kuzma's been playing. I mean, I did not expect this, Kyle. I'm going to be honest with you. Kyle Kuzma is playing fantastic. Like tonight here against the Wizards, he's got 19 points for the Bucks, 8 for 18 from the floor. He's still not efficient, right? Because the efficiency, you're like, 8 for 18 is not bad, right? It's not terrible, but you'd want to see better efficiency. He's not there completely, but 19 points. I take that night day. Like that's Chris Middleton, what he was contributing there. So I like what Kyle Kuzma, and defensively, honestly, Kyle Kuzma's been pretty good defensively for the Bucks. Like, I don't know, you don't really put defense and NBA in the same sentence and throw it out there, but defensively, Kyle Kuzma's been pretty darn good. Jericho Sims has been getting more run time now that Bobby's been out. I like Jericho Sims. I liked him at Texas. He's an athletic guy, can get after it defensively. I like him in the lineup there. Just a more athletic guy behind Brook Lopez there. But, I mean, all in all, Bucks winning this game right now, 102 to 101 now, son of a gun. As I say, it's getting tight here against the Wizards. But, I mean, what are we thinking about this Bobby Portis situation? I was trying to find the drug there that he used. Do you remember? Tramadol. Tramadol was what it was. Treat severe pain in adults is what they said. According to representative from Priority Sports, he said, "I am devastated for Bobby right now because he made an honest mistake and the ramifications of it are incredibly significant. Bobby unintentionally took a pain medication called Tramadol, thinking he was taking a pain medication called Toradol. Toradol is an approved pain medication that he used previously and that teams and players use for pain and inflammation at times." And it goes on and whatever. He had elbow injury and stuff, and that's why he took it. But this is going to be my question.
Mm-hmm.
So the NBA wants to have a better league, right? And what's going to make a better league is to keep your players on the floor, right? So I understand that he took this drug. I do. But it's not steroids. Steroids, longer lasting effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get you jacked. They're going to make you feel great for a while, right? You're hitting bombs. You're, beating up guys, whatever, right? This is just a pain medication. And honestly, and this is going to be my honest opinion on it, and I get he broke a rule, right? If you break rules, you get the ramifications. I get that. But for this, I'd have been like, all right, Bobby, you got to get drug tested every single night this next week. And we're going to test you. And if you test positive again, you're done, right? But it's pain medication, right? I mean, he took it for pain. If he doesn't test positive for it again and he ends up switching back to this other stuff and it's, good to go, Bobby, you're good to go. Go get him, right? 25 games just to me, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for, a guy broke the rules, do your thing. But at the same time, I'm like, he was trying to play. Like, he was trying to just, get out there and play. You guys have a problem right now in the NBA with guys not wanting to play. If this was Joel Embiid, if this was Kawhi Leonard, those dudes wouldn't have played. They'd have sat on the bench and sat at home. But you're going to penalize Bobby Portis because he took a pain medication just to try and get out there and play. Now, he took the wrong one. Was it an honest mistake, or was that just a ploy like they always say? Like, it's an honest mistake, right? You never know, right? Bobby could have known what he was taking. But at the same time, it's like, okay, suspend him for a week and then drug test him every single day. And as long as he doesn't test positive for it again, you're good to go. Go get him. And we're going to test you for another week, right? Or we're going to have sporadic or random, drug tests in there. And if we catch you again, bam, you're suspended for 25 games. 25 games for a pain medication. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? I don't like it just because it's a pain medication. Like, yes, it's against the rules, but at the same time, all he's doing it for is to try and play in a league where we have a problem with guys who don't want to play. Like, it seems like we're pulling two narratives here right now.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the same thing with like the steroids era. You had some guys who took stuff and people didn't actually know what it was, but it was performance enhancing. It was just like an umbrella term. And looking at the Bobby Portis stuff, it's like what he took was like an opiate. I don't know if the league is looking at it as opiates being easy to be addicted to and all this kind of stuff, and that gets real tricky. I mean, I can see what you're saying. 25 games seems like a lot, especially when you have 30.
I think he's out
left in the regular season.
4 games or something like that. He comes back.
You're basically missing the whole season, and you're a Bucks team that's fighting to be a top 4 seed, hoping to maybe move up a little bit. It's definitely a big blow for you. But look, maybe this is something where now you lean on Kuzma a little bit more. And like you said, I think he's doing well. Because for me, it was like if Kuzma could be 18, 8, 5, I think it's worth it for Milwaukee. And I know, like I said, you didn't like the trade to begin with. I feel like they traded for him hoping to get the Kuzma that was in LA that showed that he could be a rotation guy. And you're hoping that him playing off of Dame and Giannis helps him to create mismatches, take some guys off the dribble, and doing all that. So I think the Kuzma move is going to look better the deeper we go into the season here. But the Portis loss is going to be important because I feel like the Bucks are a team that necessarily wasn't all that deep to begin with, especially knowing who Doc likes to play in key situations. Now you're taking somebody that Doc wanted to rely on out of the equation. Where does he turn in terms of a replacement? Does it force his hand to play maybe a young guy? Does he change the lineup a bit to, like Giannis at center and you go like crazy small with, I don't know, like I feel like you could do some things, but Portis he's a contributor. Like if there's anything you want to say, he's a guy who comes off the bench. He can score for you. He brings physicality to the floor. because Portis is a guy who doesn't necessarily take a lot of mess on the court. He's not afraid to kind of get mixed up with guys on certain teams. As Jory says, still don't trust Kuzma.
Yep.
Like, the one thing you can only say for now is, like, is Kuzma going to do this in the playoffs? It's well and good that he's doing it in the regular season, but playoffs, when you're in a 7-game series with a Knicks or a Celtics, one of those teams, it's like you're going to need Kuzma to be around a 20-point per game, 7-8 rebound type of guy, a guy who can run the floor. He needs to be able to knock down, perimeter shots when he has them, whether it's off of like Dame penetration or Giannis kick out. Like, that's all Kuzma really has to do. Knock down shots when you get them, run the floor, and create easy opportunities for yourself.
Yep.
I think he's gotten to a good start. He's going to have to show it consistently over the second half of the season for sure.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think it's going to be, for now, a lot more Jericho Sims. I think we're going to see him a lot more than what we thought. Offensively, he doesn't really give you anything. Like, he's not an offensive guy. Mm-hmm. Defensively, that's where he's going to be, and he's just going to be a guy who's a presence. That's about it. That's high flyer. That's about all you get out of Jericho Sims. Let's see here. John did say, I could see them dropping from 5th to 8th with possibly 6th man of the year out until April 8th. Their 4th last game of the regular season there. Yeah, they play the Timberwolves there when Bobby comes back. Like you said, I think it's going to test the Bucks. I think it's going to test the depth that they have. Sometimes that's a good thing, right? You get to find out, what guys have, or maybe a guy gets to play a little bit more and he shows you something. Maybe we see, like you said, some of the younger guys a little bit more. Who knows, right? But it could be beneficial. It could also screw the Bucks in seeding. We don't know, right? But sometimes it's just make it in and see what happens. So as long as you get in, that's what you got to worry about, is being in a good position when Bobby Portis does come back on the backside of it there. So, I mean, we'll wait and see there. I don't know. You mentioned something interesting there about the opioids and if it was addictive or not, and that's why they would suspend him. I just wonder, in that 25-game suspension, do they test him during that too? Like, because otherwise he could just be doing it the whole time. Like, he could just be popping pills the whole time. Nobody's testing him. He's not playing. Who cares, right? I don't know. Just an interesting thing I thought I took from
that's a good point. Maybe they test him before he comes back just to make sure that he's not coming back on the same stuff, and then you're like, well, we're gonna have to suspend him again.
Well, do they test every day? Like, how does it work there? Like, was this just a random drug test that he had where he just didn't pass it this time? Like, it seems odd. It seems odd that Bobby Portis was the one that's hit, but like, you're telling me nobody else? Like, it's always the random guy.
Well, that's gonna be the NBA's fear, that Bobby Portis is just the first guy in a long line of players secretly taking this, and they're not catching it.
Exactly. Go test LeBron every once in a while and see what he's got going on. Like, you never hear star players. It's always just a random guys, right? Mm-hmm. Even with this whole betting like ring and everything that was happening, like, it was just the random guys. Mm-hmm. Like, they were nothing to the league. And like, oh yeah, we'll suspend them. But it's like, do you ever look at the other guys like for a second? Just maybe. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Bobby, I love Bobby, but hopefully.
But even like to John's point about the Bucks possibly slipping, that's where this is also interesting because I think John said he sees them going like from 5th to 8th. You have the Pistons.
You're in a play-in game now.
Right, because you have the Pistons like a game behind them. Now, depending on how much you trust the Pistons in a position they've never been in, now getting to that part of the calendar where games mean even more, can the Pistons hold on and potentially move past the Bucks? You have Orlando, who finally got Banchero back not too long ago. So there's a chance that they're going to start playing a little bit better. And they're only like 2 games, well, I think like 3 games behind the Bucks. So the Bucks can't necessarily sit here and go through like a 2-week stretch where they really struggle, because they could wake up one day and find themselves 7th or even 8th. Well, 8th are the Heat. I think the Heat has so many problems right now that the Bucks don't have to worry about them. But if they fell out of the playoffs and into the play-in, that now creates a couple extra games you have to play. It's already a veteran group. I mean, you did bring in Sims and Kuzma, who are a little bit younger, but the guys that Doc relies on are all veteran guys. You don't want to necessarily add games to their schedule with a play-in tournament to get into the playoffs. So for the Bucks, you got to try to stay at the top 6. Bobby Portis comes back like the last few games of the season. You can now get him worked back in and kind of hit the ground running in the playoffs, depending on who you play.
Yeah. No, I would agree. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Jory did say when you absolutely need him is when I don't trust him. You don't need him late in game, to be honest. Like, Dame's my closer. Dame and Giannis are my closers. Like, I need Kuz, like you said, all game long to give me 20. Like, just to be that role player all game long. When it gets late in the game, I go to Dame, I go to Giannis. That's where it goes. Like, that's just how it is. That's how it is with the Bucks. It's what it's been and what it's going to be. Kuz has just got to be what you were hoping Chris Middleton was going to be, and that's just
he's got to be a reliable.
Yep, a guy to come along.
According to Jory's point, like, he has to be a reliable number 3.
Yes.
Like,
yep.
He can't give you a Torian Prince type performance where it's like 6-8 points. He's out there.
Depends on the night, right? With him, it's like one night he hits like 6 and it's 6 threes, and it's like, what is going on? And the next night he's completely irrelevant to the offense there. Same with like AJ Green. He's the same way. AJ Green's there for one night, and then all of a sudden it's like gives you nothing, and there's no production. So I agree. Like, he's got to be a reliable third, but late in the game, it's like I don't need him as much late in the game. I need him to be at 20 points a game. I don't need him to be my late game scorer, I guess is what I'm trying to say there. What does John say there? If Bucks possibly fall out, does Portis save Rivers' job? Possibly. Possibly. You know what I saw interesting was on the Bucks schedule, you were mentioning the Pistons there. Bobby Portis comes back on April 8th against the Timberwolves. They have 2 games against the Pistons to end the season, back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
So could be at that point for like the 6 or the 5, whatever it is there. I mean, the schedule for the Bucks, you mentioned, like, you know, the Heat aren't very much of a threat, you don't think, but you have the Heat on there. You have Houston, Denver, Dallas twice, Atlanta, Orlando, Cleveland, Pacers twice, Lakers. I mean, there's got some tough games. They have some tough games to end it here. A lot of playoff teams to end the season here. So we'll see what the Bucks do. I mean, we'll see what the Bucks do there to end the season. Maybe they get hot. Maybe they go on a run. Maybe the Bucks are get better for it, right? Without Bobby, maybe it makes this Bucks team try to win games in different ways. It makes Kyle Kuzma step up, makes him, you know, turn into that guy that was out in LA. Who knows, right? That's kind of some of the craziness that you see in basketball sometimes. Guys just turn it on, and that's what you get there. So,
it's just what the standings like.
Yep.
To get to third, they're kind of like 7 games back. So they're kind of looking at this as, if our ceiling is 4th with everything going well, now your path looks like possibly like a Pacers first round, Cavs second round, and you avoid the Celtics until the conference finals. Or if you stuck at 6, then it's like Knicks first round, potentially Celtics second round, to then get to the Cavs in the conference finals. So it's for them, it's like seeding is going to be important because the Celtics have shown that's a team that kind of is a thorn in their side.
Yeah.
But these other teams, if you're the Bucks, you're like, yeah, the Cavs are the 1 seed, but we'll take our chances because the Cavs have a lot to prove in the playoffs as well.
Well, the Cavs are the ones that can blow us out. So for some reason, we play close with the Celtics. We don't beat the Celtics. We just lose by 5. Like, that's just how it goes. We just lose by 5 there. So I gotta be honest with you. I would not, if the Bucks dropped out, I would not want to see the Bucks round 1. If I'm the Knicks, Celtics, Cavs, like, I would not want to see this Bucks team. Giannis and Dame and Kuz, if he's feeling it, and they just got Bobby. And the reason why they were struggling because no Bobby, and then Bobby comes back and he's feeling it again, I would not want to see that team. Not at all. But I wish the Bucks would have known this was going to happen, because then maybe we could have made a trade and got some young guys and just kind of rebuilt instead of trying to go, you know, what's the move we can make to go all in? We'd have been like, let's sit pat. Let's sit pat for a year and see what happens there. So, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how these standings kind of work out there. You know, the Pacers are only a half game up too. Yeah. So the Bucks could still climb. They could still fall. Who knows with the Knicks? I mean, the Knicks could fluctuate there a little bit too. And the Bucks could go on a run. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen before. That Bucks team back in when they won the finals there. I mean, they had PJ Tucker in that too, and Middleton was going off. But I mean, outside of that, you take Dame, you take Giannis, and Kuz starts playing well. I mean, that's a three-headed monster. You got Brook Lopez still along for the ride. I mean, what tells you? What tells you it couldn't get wild there for the Bucks? So we'll see what happens. Bucks do get the win though. They did get the win over the Wizards there. I believe it was 104-101 was the final there. Chris Middleton playing for the Washington Wizards. That still looks weird to me. I still feel bad for that poor son of a gun. He had 12 points. I still feel bad.
How motivated is he going to? How motivated will he be in about a month's time playing in Washington, knowing full well they're not going anywhere?
No,
they may end up sitting him because they don't want to win for draft picks. So it's just like, yeah, you feel bad for him, and hopefully maybe he can find a way out of there somehow and get back to a contender to have something to actually play for. Because Washington is not going to be contending anytime soon.
Who do you feel worse for, Jordan Poole or Chris Middleton? Like Jordan Poole came from right after the Warriors won the finals, basically, and then they just flip him. Like he's just gone. And then Chris Middleton. I mean, I feel bad for Chris. Jordan Poole's kind of he's kind of
from what you hear, like
kind of thing with him.
Yeah, Reggie Poole became like a head case, and that's kind of what happened. Like Middleton was rehabbing, came back, and then it was like, oh, guess what? We're kind of flipping you for Kyle Kuzma. Have fun in Washington.
With one of the worst teams in the NBA. You get to go from us to the worst team. Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, go eat the crab cakes. We hear they're pretty good, but other than that, I don't know. Got nothing for you.
Oh, Gandhi. Well, at least the pressure's off, right? The pressure's off Chris Middleton. He doesn't have
that could work for him too. You go out there and just ball out, and maybe he regains a little bit, and somebody goes out and gets him.
Yeah, no, I would agree. 100% there. So I want to get to the Badgers. John wants to get to the Badgers because he wants to talk about this Oregon team. So the Badgers, just wanted to mention it before we get to it. Greg Gard is now up for Coach of the Year. Is that not great to hear? It is well deserved. I don't understand why it took this long for us to throw him into the conversation. I got to be honest with you. I don't think that John Shire should win Coach of the Year. He's coaching Duke. They have Cooper Flagg. They have Con Knuppel. They have some of the best recruits in all of basketball. Why should he be up for Coach of the Year? Bruce Pearl. He's returning essentially I love Bruce Pearl. I love Bruce Pearl. He's returning essentially his entire Auburn team from last year and one of the players of the year in Janai Broome. Like, good for you. Greg Gard's team was picked to finish 12th in the Big Ten. 12th in all of the Big Ten. They weren't even a thought for the NCAA tournament. They weren't even a thought for the Big Ten. If Michigan State beats Michigan tonight here, which they're winning right now 62-53 here, with 7:20 to go here, they're playing in Michigan. Both of those teams now have 3 losses in the Big Ten. If, and I'm throwing a lot of ifs at you, if Michigan State and Michigan play one more time, and it's going to be at the Breslin Center in Michigan State. If Michigan State wins that game, Michigan now has 4 losses. If the Badgers beat Michigan State, they have 1 game against Michigan State, they would have 4 losses and they'd be tied with all of that madness for that first place spot. And that's not even all the games. Like, I'm just mentioning Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Michigan all playing each other in some way, shape, or form. Michigan still has to play Maryland. They still have a game against Maryland. They still play Illinois. They still play Rutgers. They still have Nebraska in there. They still play good teams. Michigan State, outside of just having to play Wisconsin, still plays in some good games yet. They have that game against Wisconsin. They play Michigan. They play Maryland again. Maryland is one of the better teams in the Big Ten. Iowa, they have Iowa on the docket. Wisconsin could still finish as the number 1 team in the Big Ten. First place. 12th to 1st.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Who is John Tonje before he came to Wisconsin? I have no idea. Now people are like, this dude could be Steph Curry. Watch him sometime. If you haven't watched, and I know you're Badger fans out there, so you probably have watched John Tonje before, right? But if you're just watching this now and you're like, I haven't watched much college basketball this year, watch John Tonje. This guy's unreal. Unreal when he shoots the basketball. What he's been able to do with a whole lot of little this season for Wisconsin. Guys that you were like, how are these pieces? You got this box with a puzzle in it. You're like, how do these pieces fit together, right? Greg Gard just took them, and he's like, we can make her work. We can fit this piece to this piece. We can't, we got this corner piece here. We can make it work. It has just been impressive.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive efficiency. I saw it. The top efficiencies in half court. So the top efficiencies in all of college basketball in half court. Wisconsin has the number one offensive efficiency in half court in all of basketball. Number one. Gonzaga's 2, Auburn's 3, Duke's 4, Kentucky's 5, UConn is 6, Villanova 7, and Purdue, I believe, was 8th on that list. Number one, above teams who have players of the year candidates in Janai Broome and in Cooper Flagg and Con Knuppel.
Mm-hmm.
The Badgers have the best half-court offense, efficiency-wise. That it just doesn't just happen. Not with a bunch of no-name guys, right? If you would have told me Duke with Cooper Flagg had the number one efficiency of offense in all of college basketball, I'd be like, yeah, sure, okay. Like, yeah, I get it. Janai Broome and Auburn, sure. Florida, yeah. Tennessee, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin, would not have believed it if you told me at the start of this season that was going to be the Badgers. But that's where we're at. Greg Gard has taken this team. Him and Kirk Penny. He let Kirk Penny come in. He's from he was overseas, came play for the Badgers, went back overseas, came back, coached with Wisconsin. And Greg Gard said, show me what you got. What do you got for me? And they run this dribble drive offense now. A whole lot of greatness, right? But I'm going to be honest with you. I love what I'm seeing right now out of this Wisconsin Badgers team. And, I mean, I would say outside of Greg Gard, my other guy for coach of the year would be Rick Pitino. Just because St. John's has absolute terrible offense and their defense is just, oh my. Like, they just won a game the other night. They shot like 33% from the field. That is ridiculous. And you win a game by like 20. Yeah. And it's just creating possessions and just playing good basketball. So, I mean, for me right now, if I don't care, I didn't care if Greg Gard won coach of the year in all of college. I think it'd be awesome, right? I think it's well-deserved if he did. But I'm just glad he's up for it, right? And I think John Tonje should be up for player of the year in college basketball. I know Cooper Flagg will probably win it because, I mean, I can't turn on ESPN without going, oh, Cooper Flagg, yeah, here he is, Cooper Flagg, oh, yeah, Cooper. It's like every other commercial of college basketball is Cooper Flagg, and I got to hear about it, and everybody's talking. I'm like, I get it, Cooper Flagg's, around, I get it, right? Or Janai Broome, right? Janai Broome is one of the most dominant players in college basketball, and I hear about Cooper Flagg more than I hear about Janai Broome. So, I mean, yeah, there's that. I don't care if John Tonje doesn't win it. I just am glad that finally Wisconsin is getting recognition for what they've been able to do. Because what they're doing right now was not even a thought in anyone's mind. And now everybody's like, oh, I'm in love with Wisconsin basketball. It's like, dude, if you're not here from the start, don't even join us now. Like, don't join the party. Don't join this party just because you're now joining it, right? Just because you're now seeing or like, oh, yeah, John Tonje is actually a pretty good player. Well, there was a lot of people. And I think you were on the show, Kyle, when we talked about after the UW River Falls, they had that exhibition game. And people were kind of blowing up because it was a close game at the half or whatever it was. I think you were there for that one. And people were blowing up. And I was like, it's exhibition and everything. But people were like, this season, we're going to suck. Like, everybody was blowing up.
Yeah.
What do you think now? What do you think now? Like, that's an exhibition game. And this Badger team has put a lot of them haters to bed. So, I mean, Kyle, what do you think? Looking on the outside, looking into this Badger team, how do you see them? How do you like them? Like, what are you seeing right now?
Look, I think something that you were saying there that really kind of clicked for me was the fact that they're really good at half-court offense. That is something that I feel like is under the radar for March. A lot of times teams that can execute in half-court in March do well because so much of the tournament's filled with teams that like to run and gun. And then when they do that and their shot's not falling, and then now they're having to slow up and take their possessions and cherish them a little bit more, they don't know what to do. If Wisconsin can excel in that and continue that into March, that makes them that much more of a dangerous team. Now, the fact that they also were picked to finish pretty low in the Big Ten, which we know is not a conference that you take lightly. yeah, that speaks to maybe they don't have the most notable players, but maybe this is why, the coach is in Coach of the Year consideration. A good coach will take a good group of players, get them to play the correct way to get them wins. And I feel like that's what you're seeing from Wisconsin. I've seen like a couple of games, I've seen games where, they just rain down threes and they do really well. I've seen games where they grind out possessions in the second half. Maybe it's a 1-2 point lead and they come down, get a couple of stops, get a couple of buckets, and then that turns into like 6, 7, 8 point lead. So I've seen them kind of do both things. And I think if they can play well in March, they're an interesting team. Obviously, it's going to matter on, bracket and other teams on their side and stuff like that. But they're a team that can fly under the radar. And I think there is something to say for that. That shows how good the coach is, how good, Tanji and some of these players, maybe they're playing a little above their head, who knows? Or maybe they're just playing and people are just now noticing that these guys might be a little bit better than people thought they were going to be. So they're a team I will be watching, and especially like Big Ten tournament, that type, where that's one of those tournaments that it takes a lot to get through. I'd like to see Wisconsin in that kind of setting, how they play. Because for these big conferences, you do well in your conference tournament, that can propel you on a March run as well. So I think they're positioning themselves to possibly have a deep run, but we won't know until we see it.
Yeah. No, and I would say you mentioned something there. Can this team, can they go into them hostile environments? Can they win those games in neutral sites? What does a tournament setting look like for a team like this? And was this team for real, right? You didn't know if this team was for real. I didn't know how good this team was until they went to Purdue and they put up 94 points.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know. Like, I'm going through the season and I'm like, this is a good Badgers team. Like, I said it the whole way. I said, it's a good Badgers team. This is a good Badgers team. They got a good team here. John Tonje, John Blackwell. It's a good team. And I kept saying it. But I was like, where's that signature road win, right? Because they went to Rutgers. They won. It was like, whatever. USC, whatever. Mm-hmm. They went on the road to Maryland, lost. Went to Northwestern, won that game. They went to Iowa and won it. And I'm like, they still don't have – they have road wins. Like, something that they didn't have in the past was road wins. They at least had road wins. But I was like, where's that signature – the signature win, right? They didn't just get a signature win on the season, and it wasn't at home. They got a signature win at Purdue, in Mackey, a place that's hard for the Badgers to win at or play at or anybody to play at. Mm-hmm. They put up 94 points on the road. If I had told you at the start of the year the Badgers are going to go into Mackey this season and put up 94 points against number 7 Purdue, you would have laughed in my face. Mm-hmm. You'd have been like, there ain't no way. No way. Yeah. That's what they did. And then the very next game, they play Illinois back at home. And they put up 95 points. Back-to-back games with 90-plus points in those games. They've put up 90 points multiple times this year. 116 against Iowa there. They put up 100 points against Arizona. That Arizona win is nothing but impressive at this point. Because Arizona continues to win basketball games. I saw Jay Billis put out his top 60 or top 25 teams the other day. I don't know if Jay Billis has watched college basketball in a while. He had Purdue at 10 and Wisconsin at 11. This was after Wisconsin beat Purdue at Purdue, and he still had him ahead of him. He had Kansas at 15. After Kansas got smoked around by BYU, he put Kansas at 15. I don't believe that Jay Billis watches anything outside of Duke basketball at this point, so I'm sick of watching him. John Fanta had a pretty good list, so I think he had the Badgers in there as like number 9, I think, in his top 25, so I thought that was a pretty good one for the Badgers there. But, I mean, Wisconsin, they have a big one, though. I think it's going to be a big game coming up against Oregon there. I don't know if it's a quad 1 game. It might be right on the verge of it. I think it might be a quad 2 at this point. Badgers 7-5 in quad 1 games. Quad 2 games, they're 7-0. Quad 3 games, they're 2-0. And quad 4, they're 5-0. So, right, pretty good. I mean, not having a really terrible loss, I guess you could say there for Wisconsin. I believe their worst loss is against Michigan. Their worst like net ranking loss was Michigan at home, and I think Michigan at home was like 17th in the rankings. Mm-hmm. So like having Michigan as your worst loss on the season, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Like you'll take that all day there. But Badgers, Oregon. Oregon's a pretty good team. Like the record wouldn't show that. I know John's in here right now. The record wouldn't show that Oregon's got a pretty darn good team out there, but they've just kind of ran into a little bit of a tough spell here in the month of January, late January going into February there. 19-8 overall. They're 8-8 conference play there. But, you know, they beat Texas A&M. They beat Alabama. They beat Maryland. They have some good wins on that schedule. It's just the losses that came along with it. I mean, they lost that game to Minnesota. They lost to Nebraska. They have a loss to UCLA in there. They just have some tough losses along the way. They had a 5-game losing streak. That will put a damper on anybody's season. I mean, this was a team in Oregon who was up in the top 10 at one point, and now they went on that 5-game losing streak. You're 19-8 now. They're still a tournament team, but just struggled as of late here. I mean, this team can put up points. I saw them in that they're playing Michigan State, I believe. Yes, it was that game against Michigan State. It was at the Breslin Center. So they're playing the East Lansing there. And I mean, they put up 50 points, Oregon did in the first half at the Breslin Center. I cannot remember many teams who have put up 50 points at the Breslin Center in a half. That's a lot of points. That's a defensive-oriented team in Tom Izzo. I mean, right now I'm watching them hold Michigan in Ann Arbor to 62 points right now with a minute to go in this game. Like, this is a pretty good defensive team, a pretty physical team in Michigan State. And, I mean, did a pretty darn good job there of putting up buckets. It's just the second half. Michigan kind of clamped down, or Michigan State clamped down there, and Oregon was only able to muster 24 points against Michigan State there. So that's kind of what we saw. I don't know. I did see John just said Michigan State upsets Michigan. I don't see it as an upset. 14-12. I would say, okay, never mind. I would say it's an upset because it's on the road. I would say it's an upset because it's on the road there. Michigan State going to Michigan. I love seeing Michigan fans hit the road early. I love seeing that. I love seeing pissed off fans taking their way up to Happy Street there and getting out on the road early. That's what makes me laugh there. But getting back to this Oregon team, they're a good team. They're a good team. They just have ran into some trouble as of late, that 5-game losing streak. They have a pretty darn good scoring team, and I want to get to that here. Some of the key players that I have going into this one. Shellstad, the guard there, 13.3 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 44% from the field there, and 38% from downtown. This guy can ring it up. He can ring it up, and he shares the basketball well. So Shellstad has been fantastic. Nate Biddle, the 7-footer there, he can hit it from downtown a little bit, 32% from downtown, 50% from the field, 12.9 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks. So you got to watch out for him on the interior. TJ Bamba, the guard there, 10.3 points per game, 3 assists. Does not shoot it well from the field, though, 37% from the field. He's kind of not efficient. Let's go with that. Not efficient, but he's got a pretty good score there. Bardahelmy, that's what we're calling him there. Bardahelmy, I don't know how to say his name there. 9.7 points per game, 40% from 3 and 41% from the 3-point arc there. He's been pretty darn good. I mean, offensively, this is a pretty darn good team. Like, offensively, they can put buckets up. They have a pretty good 3-point shooting team. They can get to the free throw line. They can score it. They're not a bad team. It's just the record wouldn't show you that. And John says here, Oregon issue is it looks like they take their foot off the gas in the last 5 minutes of every game. That could be a very big problem for him too. I think intensity sometimes gets to them. I thought Michigan State just played more physical than they did in the Breslin Center. That's the thing that Wisconsin's going to have to be careful of, is that Wisconsin, they're going to have to play physical. Oregon is a physical basketball team. They're going to get after you. My worry, and it's the constant worry I have with the Badgers, is they struggle with physical big teams. And Biddle's a big fella. He's going to get after you. How does Steven Crowell and Nolan Winter play against that? How do the Badgers respond to a physical team in Oregon? That's what I'm waiting to see. So that's kind of what my big takeaway from this one is the physicality from Oregon. Some of the team stats, 76 points per game for Oregon, 44% from the field, or 45% from the field, 34% from three, 76% from the free throw line there. They have about 11 turnovers per game and 7 steals. So they get after you. They don't turn the ball over a lot, and they can shoot it. So this is a dangerous team in Oregon. If you take them lightly, you can lose this basketball game. And I mean, Kyle, what are you seeing? I mean, from this matchup here, Wisconsin, Oregon, I mean, if you got a prediction, give me your prediction. Like if you were a bet man, who are you taking? Wisconsin, Oregon in Madison?
Yeah, so like when I'm looking at the numbers, they are pretty similar in a couple of instances. Like in terms of rebounding, neither team is like a great rebounding team. So that may be what it comes down to is who can grab a rebound, get out in transition, and get down. Because both teams, like you said, they can fill it up. I think Wisconsin's a little bit better offensively. And I think defensively, in terms of scoring-wise, they're pretty similar. So this might be a game that comes down to, like a key rebound late, whether you can grab it or not. And I guess getting into your offense and running your stuff and creating good opportunities. Because neither team is like up there in assists either. So you can expect a game where, maybe guys bring it down the court, seeking out mismatches and looking to take advantage, and not necessarily winning it off of ball movement, but just winning it off of finding the matchup and taking advantage of it. And when the opportunities are there on the glass, even though both teams are bad at rebounding, since they're facing each other, somebody's got to win the rebounding battle. So that would be my thing to look for in this one is who wins the rebounding battle probably wins this game. If I had to make a prediction, I'll go Wisconsin wins this one late, maybe by like a 6-point spread or something like that. I think it's gonna be a game that's gonna be really highly contested down to the wire, but I think I feel like Wisconsin pulls this one out.
I would agree. With that one there. I think Wisconsin wins this one. I think it's by like 10. I think the 10 comes late in this game. I think it's a physical game in Madison. It's 11 o'clock game, a weird tip time. It feels like college football almost there, but 11 o'clock tip time. I think it's a physical battle. I think the Badgers do come out on top, though. In that one, I think it's going to be heavily reliant on, like I said, Stephen Crowell and Nolan Winter. How do they defend on the inside there against Biddle, and can they control them on the outside? And then also it comes down to, what does John Tonje and John Blackwell have for an on-court performance, right? Because those two, when they get going, it's magic. It's magic. They call them fire and ice for a reason there, right? Fire and ice. Max Klesman, I think he's going to – my player of the game. Here we go, player of the game. Max Klesman. He's going to give me 15 points. He's going to give me 3 threes, and he's just going to be an assist machine in this game here, and it's just going to be awesome. It's just going to be awesome there. So John did say – let me see here. Wisconsin needs to go back and study their loss against Maryland. Well, against Maryland, John Blackwell had 2 fouls with 9 minutes to go or whatever in the first half, so he had to sit. And then John Tonje had 2 fouls with 5 minutes to go in the first half, and they were playing with, I don't even know who was out there at that point. Like the lineup was kind of rough shape for the Badgers, especially on the road. So that did not help at all. Plus, you had 11 turnovers in that game, or 10 turnovers in that game there. You didn't shoot the ball overly well. The free throw line wasn't your friend, and Maryland came out of the half hot. So, it was just, that kind of game. The Maryland game was the Maryland game. I think if you played them again, you played them in Madison, I think the Badgers win. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not come off the Maryland game and think to myself, Wisconsin is not as good as Maryland. I think Maryland's a very good team. Like, don't get me wrong, Maryland's a very good team. But I did not come out of that game thinking Maryland was the better team, I guess is what I would say there. So, Badgers, Oregon coming up tomorrow there. That'll be an 11 o'clock tip. Should be a good one there. We did see Marquette lose to Villanova, so we'll give that deserves one of them. Round of applause there. Round of applause for Villanova. I can't wait to see Marquette fans say, well, the Big East is just loaded. That's what they'll tell me. The Big East shut up. The Big East is not loaded. That
is kind of a narrative you get every year. How deep the Big East is,
They tell me that all the time. It's like UConn makes you guys deep. That's it. Yeah. UConn winning 2 national titles is the only thing that makes you deep. If you lost to St. John's, sure. Creighton, sure. UConn, maybe. Xavier's 9-7. Villanova is what? 9-8 in the Big East. You have Georgetown's at 7-8, and then Butler's 5-10. Like none of these teams are overly good. Like Xavier's 17-10, Villanova 16-12. Like, great.
Those are like records you called out Georgetown.
Yeah.
Georgetown's like your perpetual 16, 17, 18 win type of team. They're going to be on the bubble. Everybody's going to say, well, the Big East, should you let them in because of how tough it is? It's just like, I agree with you. Like, Big East basketball is, it's good for what it is. I don't know if it's necessarily all that tough, but like I said, UConn makes it seem tougher because UConn, the repeat champion and everything like that. But even like UConn seems like
they are not
a bit of a down year. They're having a year where if they lose early in the tournament, it may come all apart. Like Hurley looks like he's ready to just go off on anybody on a given night. And I think it's hilarious, but
I love it.
You can see the pressure of them winning these couple of titles getting to them because now they're getting everybody's best shot. And this year they're not winning as much as they have the past couple of years.
Makes you wonder if everybody just caught back up. UConn was a little bit ahead all those years, and now everybody's just catching back up, right? Yeah. Everybody's like, we're just as good as you there. I did see John said before, just as we're wrapping up here, John said, been saying it all year, my dark horses that will make deep tournament runs, Wisconsin, St. John's, Memphis. I don't know about Memphis. I've never been high on Memphis. St. John's, though, there's something like Kyle said about offensive efficiency in the half court. Defensive efficiency is another thing you got to have in mind. St. John's can win in the most unorthodox ways. They can shoot 33% from the field and still beat you by 20. That's impressive. There has got to be a case study done on Rick Pitino because I believe he's had his final four teams that he had at Louisville. They had a shooting percentage of 33%. So there's some kind of case study that needs to be done on Rick Pitino and his ability to coach up a pretty darn good defense. So I agree there. Let's see here. John said, thoughts on Arizona. Arizona, I don't know what to think of Arizona after. Like, when I saw them early on in the year, I thought they had a lot of growing to do. I thought they were still trying to figure it out together. Caleb Love, he's always been hit or miss for me. I thought they were they're very undisciplined. When the Badgers saw him early on in the season, there was a lot of fouls. If you remember, John Tonje shot 22 free throws in the entire game. They were very undisciplined. They were very up in your grill kind of team there. And then they kind of just settled in. They settled in themselves. They kind of rallied around each other. They got into Big 12 play. They rattled off a few wins. They've been just fine. So, right now I look at this Arizona team. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're a good team. I think they're a team that can win some basketball games, but I think would I pick them to be a Final Four team? Probably not. I'm not a Final Four favorite with Arizona right now, but I would say right now Arizona I think is a second weekend team. I think they can make it to the second weekend. I think they got good enough guard play with Love and Bradley and KJ Lewis. I just look at down low there with Townsend, and I love Townsend and Awaka, but I don't know if they're the guys who are going to take you over the top.
Yeah, I guess Arizona might just come down to how far does Caleb Love take him? Caleb Love's a guy who's been around for a bit. Yeah, it's the same Caleb Love he was at UNC and then moved on to a couple places, and now at Arizona, he's there because there's one thing to say about upper class players in March that can work for you or it could work against you because we've seen some of these freshman, sophomore laden teams beat upperclassmen kind of laden teams because they just have more energy and run around. But I think Arizona's going to be interesting to watch. I agree with you. I think they're probably a second weekend type of team, and then you wouldn't be surprised if they were upset or something like that.
Yeah, they're one of those kind of team for me at this point here. So we'll see. We'll see on Arizona there, but I think that's all we got. We got holy crap. We got into a lot tonight. Bobby Portis suspended for 25 games. Luke Fickle gets an extension. Mark Ananasio is the worst owner in all of baseball, according to some Brewer fans, as we heard. The Yankees are allowing you to have a beard now, and the Badgers are going to kick the crap out of the Ducks tomorrow. So that's all we need to know. That's all we need to know here. like I always tell you guys, you can follow us just about anywhere. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. On Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok, you can find us at Wisco Sports on the Go. On Facebook and YouTube, you can find us at Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. You can also find us on 92.3 WOSQ, the radio station here. You can search it up online. If you aren't around the central Wisconsin area, you can search up 92.3 WOSQ. You can search it. You can listen to it on the website so you can hear the show there. 7 to 8 on Wednesdays, 7 to 8 Central Time PM on Wednesdays. There you can find the show on 92.3 WOSQ on sports radio there. Also, you can email the show, wiscosportsonthego@gmail.com, and then also shoot us text at the text in line 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. If you want to get involved in Trage's mailbox, which on the radio show, the last about 12 minutes of every show, we do Trage's mailbox. If you want to be involved in that, send your questions either on any social media platform, otherwise to the email or to the text in line, and I can read them off on there, answer your questions. So that's what we want to get to there. But Kyle, let the people know where to find you out there on social media or wherever they can find your stories.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me chopping at the bit for my personal channel. You can catch me over on Integrity Sports Network. Should be on with Passion and Precision tomorrow. Then, yeah, I mean, I'm on TikTok. I think it's what Chomping Podcast. I got the links on YouTube. I can't remember.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'm on, like I said, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I'm out there.
You want to find a realist fan, you go to Kyle. That's what you got to do. If you want to find a realist,
I try to keep it real. If you want
to find some unrealist fans, go watch Kyle's show, Sideline to Sideline, on Integrity Sports, and listen to them Eagles guys tell you that was the greatest team of all time. Is the one we just watched.
Okay, the Eagles fan base, they're rabid. Like they got their win.
Oh man,
they're gonna enjoy it because the Sixers have been a disappointment. The Phillies haven't started yet. Like the Eagles are what they're gonna hold on to.
They have to.
I respect it because, that's
you win. You win. I'll give it to you. You won a Super Bowl. Like you were the best team in football this year. I will give that to you. You won it all. But to call yourselves the best of all time, no. I can name about.
You know how it is. They like to have those conversations. It's like Mahomes wins the title. Is he the greatest? Is he on track to be the greatest?
Which conversation would have been worse, though? Like, which one's going to get more annoying? Would it have been Mahomes, or is it going to be the Eagles fans trying to compare themselves to, like, the 2007 Patriots? Like, which one is going to be worse? Because I think both could have been bad. I think both will be bad in their own right.
I mean, the Mahomes one, it's interesting because, me being a Patriots fan, it's like, I recognize how good Mahomes is. Because I feel like there's a lot of people, if he wins one more, are ready to kind of put him past Brady.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that because, he's lost a couple in kind of blowout fashion, including 1-2 Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. So it's just like, I can have the conversation, but I would still lean Brady,
Yep.
Maybe the bigger conversation is, has Mahomes actually passed Montana yet? That might be a better conversation, but I think a lot of people put Mahomes past
people forget about Montana. That's the thing, is like, if you're not
we get away from it, it's like Montana's going to be slowly forgotten about a little bit more, which is tough because some of those Niners teams were pretty dominant.
It honestly is in all the sports. Like, if you don't, outside of Michael Jordan, you forget about guys.
Mm-hmm.
You forget about everybody else. Outside of LeBron, we're going to forget about guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. See, that's what separates LeBron, and we're going to get in a whole tailspin of conversation here, but that's what separates the Michael Jordan era from this era. I don't think you're going to forget about a lot of the other guys in the LeBron era, like the Stephs. Like, he was dominant. The Steph Curry was dominant. I don't think anybody was as dominant as Michael Jordan. So it's like, you got Larry and you got Magic and you got those guys along the way there. But you think of that era, you think of Mike. Like, that's what you think of. You think of this era, I think you can, like, you could put a couple different guys. Like I could think, if I think of this era, I'm like, Steph, he was dominant, right? LeBron's there, but nowadays it's like when I think of the NBA, I don't think of LeBron James. I forget LeBron James is still in the NBA sometimes, to be honest with you. Like I'm like Luka. Like I honestly think like Luka, where's what's going on with Luka this, tonight, whatever. Jason Tatum. What's going on with Tatum? Giannis. What's going on with Giannis? The Joker. What's going on to him? It's like you forget about LeBron. I don't know. It's an interesting argument when you get into the GOAT conversation, you get into the greatest of all time conversations, to think of relevancy and to think of, like you said, Joe Montana. We forget about him because it's like, oh, you skip over Montana and you go straight to what was Tom Brady. Same with the NBA. I think too many guys skip over Kobe and they go to LeBron and MJ. They don't go LeBron and Kobe because I don't know if he wins that debate. Right? I think Mike wins the debate between him and Kobe, but I don't know if LeBron wins the debate with him and Kobe. So it's like, how do you skip over Kobe to go to Mike if you don't even get past? It's like, I don't know. That's kind of where it's hard.
I think it's a great point. Like you said, it's probably something that you could probably have a conversation on another show. It's just like, because with the introduction of social media being kind of a younger platform and area space, younger fans more attached to LeBron have branched out to people within LeBron's circle in his era. So when you talk Jordan, they only know Jordan because of the Jordan-LeBron debate.
Yeah.
But Jordan's era, you had Barkley, you had Olajuwon, who was a guy I think gets forgotten about way too much.
Way too often, yeah.
And that's where the conversations get tricky, is because if you're having conversations with just younger people who only know LeBron's era, it's hard to kind of introduce them to guys who played along Jordan that were really good. Like Karl Malone, terrible person, was a good basketball player. Guys like Stockton or I don't know, like even a Tracy McGrady.
You can go through a laundry list.
Like Tracy McGrady's a guy that people, I feel like,
that was my nickname.
Don't really recognize how good that guy was.
Yep, my nickname was T-Mac growing up. That's where my uncle got it from. Tracy McGrady there.
Yeah, he was a gift. Like he was kind of like that version of Carmelo Anthony.
Yep.
Gifted scorer.
We forget about him because we amplify one guy.
Yes.
Yep. But I agree, Michael Jordan should be amplified. Like he wasn't. That was that dude. But I just think we go past guys, right? Is LeBron better than Kobe? I don't think so. So like, how can you go past Kobe and go straight to Mike? And how do you have a GOAT debate between those two, but you don't include Kobe? It just doesn't make sense. I honestly, this is what I've always said. My greatest players of all time, and this is gonna, I always irritate people when I say this, are guys who changed the game. Mike changed the game. Kobe changed the game. Steph changed the game. LeBron didn't change the game. He didn't. Because if you really look at his game, how much different is he than Kobe? How much different is he than Mike? His game was emulated off of their game, right? Steph's game is not emulated off of anybody. Steph, I mean, what guy thought that he could, what short little guy thought that he could play in the NBA realistically, consistently before Steph came in and did it? And just gave a hope to a whole different brand of basketball players who were like, I can't make the league. But now when I can bang threes like this, sure, I can make it, right? Steph's pulling half-court shots like it's his job. He changed the game.
Yeah.
There were guys who changed the game and changed it for a good. I don't know what LeBron has done to change the game for me.
I think it's fair. Because if you're looking at them, you're like, what's LeBron's greatest skill? And you could argue his greatest skill is that he's just a big athletic guy.
Yep.
So then if you're thinking of other big athletic guys, is he as dominant as Shaq, who's a big athletic guy? Maybe not. Yeah. But like Jordan, it's like crazy, intense competitor. Kobe, kind of the same thing. LeBron doesn't necessarily have that aspect to him. Like, don't get me wrong, LeBron is a great player. It's just that he's kind of like really good at a lot of things, but if you had to say what was like his go-to greatest skill, I don't know. Like some would say his passing, but I'd be like, Jason Kidd was a better passer.
Yep.
You say his scoring, I'd say Jordan was a better scorer.
Yep.
So
that's the thing. That's what kills.
yeah, that's where he kind of gets in the conversations. Like he's really good at a lot of different things,
but he's
that
not
make
the
him.
best.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's definitely one of those interesting conversations that will continue to happen once he retires as well. You know that's going to happen.
It should be soon. I would hope so. It should be very soon that he retires and just walks off into the sunset. John did say people forgot about Bradshaw, and titles get in the way also. Is Breeze really better than Marino? There's an argument to be had there. There's an argument there. Curry got his form from Nintendo game NBA Jam. You're on fire. Yeah, that's true. That is true. I remember that game now. I completely forgot about it. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's where Steph learned it. That's where Steph learned it there. So like I said before, you can find us across social media on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, on Twitter and Twitch and TikTok. Find us at Wisco Sports on the Go. Facebook and YouTube. Find us at Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. And then you can also email the show. Get into Trage's mailbox. Ask us your questions. We'll get to them on the radio on 92.3 WSQ there. You can find us there. Wisco Sports on the Go at gmail.com. You can email the show with your questions, concerns, everything you got. And then you can also shoot us a text, 715-990-4914. That is 715-990-4914. Find Kyle across social media, chomping at the bit in any way, shape, or form. You can write it, Chomping on the Bit podcast. You can find him across all platforms out there. Great content. You want to get in there and tune into his stuff. It's always great. NBA, everything in between. He gets NFL and all of it. You got to check him out there. So with that, for Kyle and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here for sure on Wednesday on the radio there on 92.3 WSQ. Before that, I don't know about the live. Maybe back on Sunday after the Badgers, or maybe tomorrow after the Badger game. We'll see when we get back live here. But until then, see ya.